Well, I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand what you just said, but okay.
Hold on.
Something wrong with his microphone.
Okay, is this a lot louder or
That's
softer?
better. That's better.
You're good.
Better? Is that
Yes.
distorting at all?
No,
Nope.
it's not distorting at all.
Just said
Okay.
you
All
don't
right.
sound like you don't sound like a chipmunk.
I don't sound like a chipmunk.
You don't.
Not yet.
I like
Okay. Russ, you have some pre-show stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's, with all the things going on in the world, poor Tom Brady. That's all I have to say. Is just really, I feel bad for Tom Brady. He feels unappreciated in his job. And, there's nothing worse than when a guy who gets paid like $15 million to play a kid's game feels unappreciated in his job. Like that's really horrific. I really want to reach out to him and just I'll even give him a hug. If Tom Brady would like a hug from me, I would be happy to.
I'll take his New York City condo off his hands if he'd like.
I'll take a hug from his wife.
No,
But I do have to come to the defense of Tom Brady for one thing.
Oh my God,
No, for one thing.
you don't have to, but you can.
For one thing, I wish that more star players in particular sports would do what he has done in regards to taking less money to be able to have his team be competitive. He is not the top paid quarterback in the NFL. He could have been for the last 10 years. He's making, I think, around don't get me wrong, 15, 18, 19, 20 million. But, Matthew Stafford is making 30 and Kirk Cousins, who hasn't won crap, is making over 30. So, he could have done what other athletes and other sports has done in the past and say, give me, show me the money. And he's gotten in. He's going to make tons of money throughout the rest of his career. Maybe that's the mitigating factor here, but he didn't cash in all the way at the expense of having another championship or two. And I give him credit for that. Now, all the other stuff, yeah, I get it. He's a pampered prima donna. But most of these athletes are. Most of them are already.
And when I was a kid and I looked up to quarterbacks, like as an example, Joe Namath's 1,000 years old. However, when he had the bad knees for the entire time, I pretty much watched him. Yeah. I mean, I actually saw scrambling tapes of him at Alabama. I didn't even know that Joe Namath was a quarterback. He never complained about his knees. Dan Marino never complained about not having a running back. Jim Kelly never complained about his aches and pains. And Brady's complaining because his trainer can't be with him, 24/7. It's like, come on, man. It's like, get over it. Give the guy a ticket. He doesn't need to be there in the locker room next to you. He's not a team employee. We've been through this in other sports. Just get over it. It's not that big of a deal.
No,
Brady is fighting father time.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to let go.
Right.
That's the issue. Is he still an elite quarterback? Yes.
Yes.
But whatever makes him elite and makes him tick is part and parcel with his dietitian, his trainer, and this new age thing. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady eventually and the New England Patriots, including Bill Belichick, have to recognize that at some point, the attachment to the process, not the games, is what's happening to Brady. Mm-hmm. And the games are going to matter more or the outcome of the games is going to matter more than the camaraderie in the locker room and letting go of that. And every athlete goes through it. Mm-hmm. We watched it with Jaromir Jagr. We've watched it with more than a few hockey players who've gone into their 40s. And it's the cutting the cord from the away from the ice stuff that is the hardest. Tom Brady's facing that. Get over it, Tom. Age wins all the time.
Now, the thing I had pre-show, and I was telling Russ this before, it's always fascinating to me to witness the battle of two particular teams, and the advantage for the one team is, I mean, there may be a talent advantage, but it's always there's always a mental component to it. And maybe you could say that about the Jets and the Edmonton Oilers back in the day, back in the Gretzky, post Gretzky era, where I thought the Jets were almost as talented or close to being as talented as the Oilers, and they never could beat them. I think that's what's going on with Pittsburgh and Washington. I think Washington was more talented last year and just simply could not get by the Penguins because of the mental barrier. And the suggestion now, the thing that brought this to the forefront was in the NBA tonight. It's the LeBron and the Cavaliers versus the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are arguably a better team. I have never seen an organization more psyched out about one guy than maybe you were right, Russ. The Knicks and Michael Jordan.
That's the equivalent.
But I mean, the Raptors should win this series, and they may finally get over that hurdle. But right now, I would say, if I had to bet money, I would bet money on the Cavs because the Raptors in 2 or 3 years have not proved they can get by LeBron, even if it's LeBron and nobody else on that team.
LeBron can probably win that series if he scores like 45, 50 points in the first game. Like he can probably psych him out for the series. No joke. I mean,
you're probably right. I think you're right. My camera. 1 second. I think you're right about that. I think that I mean, there are histories of this, throughout sports of teams getting psyched out by one player, and LeBron's a hell of a player. So. Yeah.
It's not just one player. I think it's team. I think it's team. Like with.
Well, I think it's the one player for this case. It's not the team because the Cavaliers, they've changed. I mean, it's not like they're the same guys.
Well, with the Oilers, it wasn't one player. I mean, it was after Gretzky. I mean, after Gretzky left the Los Angeles. I mean, Winnipeg still had trouble beating them. Calgary still had problems beating them.
In basketball, it can be one player.
Yes, in basketball, it can. But
that is the difference, right? Basketball has the ability. I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix it.
It could be in soccer too if it ever moves faster, but generally it's not.
Got my ridiculous light here. How's the stark shadows?
Yeah, no, you look like you're being interrogated by.
I do. I feel like I'm being interrogated.
I'm waiting for Joe Friday to pop on the screen.
All right, so I've got something for the pre-show too because I've been, now don't ask me how because this thing behind here, this
I've noticed it. Yeah, I see
that. It was over there before. It used to be on the other side over there. So, and I don't know how, but I had 3 Winnipeg fans yesterday tweet me, one email me about the fact that there's no Winnipeg Jets puck on there, and because
on where
on this thing that says all the teams pucks except for
back there, Peter.
So
that thing. Sorry, that
it was
thing
made in the Coyotes era. Okay, so it's got Coyotes pucks. So I have this, okay, which I'm going to now place on there so everybody can see this perfectly. Okay, here you go. Put it right at the top here.
So this is like when teams have those color forms in the Stanley Cup and they win a game and they peel away a piece of it. Now you're doing that.
I love the fact that we have actually people who have blown up the video.
It's blurry. It's out of focus. It's in the background, but somehow people know.
This is simply. And until those great Winnipeg Jets fans, thank you for watching the podcast and doing that. But this is the problem with Winnipeg. There's this underlying inferiority complex, whatever the hell the word is.
I like that's a good word.
Oh, insecurity is your word.
Insecurity. That's it. That's my word. That's exactly what Winnipeg is. They lost the team. Nothing should ever be here. The summers are mosquito-y. Winter's colder than Mars, minus 60. Everyone has a problem with Winnipeg, and you know what? Fly under the radar, baby.
I totally man, I'm so freaking. Sorry, I'm so bright. There we go.
Ooh,
welcome.
Mood lighting.
I know mood lighting. Better than the other thing because the other thing is like totally like washing me out.
It actually looks really good now.
Because what matters? Thank you, Peter. What matters is that
that means don't mess with that act. Just leave.
I think I got the nice halfway point there. That's pretty good, right? Okay, there we go.
It's as good as it's going to get for you.
You can believe me. I know that. That's not a question, Russ. This is as good as it's going to get for me. I'm fine with that. All right,
not saying a thing.
Let's start the show. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, May Day, May 1st, 2018.
I'm Comrade Michael Agello.
I am anxiously waiting puck drop Peter Tessier.
Yeah, I know.
I'm Russ Cohn from Sportsology, and I do have a secret item for the ex-addict.
Oh, good. Excellent. Because I have one too, but I'd like to see yours first.
Good. The people who get this on the podcast, that's not going to sound good.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
And you are?
And I'm Eklund. You're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And what we're going to do today is start off with a couple really good games last night. Let's go for the first. Tampa recovers. They show, you didn't think Boston was going to win both games in Tampa. I mean, the hockey is such a game of, who has to win always has a little bit of advantage. So you get two teams, and I think you saw that in Nashville against Winnipeg. Nashville had to win game 2. They just had to, and they did. They found a way. And last night, Tampa had to beat Boston. What are our thoughts after that?
I'll tell you this. I think Tampa, maybe Stamkos was right. Maybe they were just stale because offensively they had jump and they were making great plays and they were getting behind the Boston defense and skating past them. And if I'm a Bruins fan, I'm a little worried now because you knew that team had the better offense and they really did keep the puck a lot. And Ryan McDonough did what Mike wanted him to. He not only checked, and I like Ryan McDonough. I'm a little partial, right? I did a book signing with him. He's a great guy. I even knew him before the draft a little bit, right? But what he did probably made a lot of fans happy. Not only did he check Marchand on the boards, but then he sort of threw him down one-handed. Like that was a statement. It was.
That was one of those signature moments, in a series that really, if Tampa wins it, you'll remember that. That was like a really serious moment.
Yeah, I think Tampa had to prove that they would not be pushed around by the Bruins, and if you let the Bruins get away with murder, they're going to continue to murder. They could be on a killing spree, and I don't think Tampa did that. I think they stood. Now, the one thing is Stamkos has been a ghost. He has been. I mean, I think he's got like 1 point in his last 19 games or something like that. And in the regular season, he was. I mean, I know he had some points in the first round series against New Jersey, but he really slumped at the end of the year. And I clearly think he's not 100%. But his presence should be enough. But that really means that the other guys on that team have to step up. And Braden Point, who has. I mean, from a rookie last year to, I think, maybe one of the, top 15, 20 forwards in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a goal and 3 assists yesterday. He matched up against Bergeron. They didn't take any crap from the Bruins. And Vasilevsky, I thought, played pretty well. And that's the other key is Vasilevsky played well, and I didn't think Tuukka Rask played well at all. He resorted back to his form from the Leafs series, and they need Rask to play better if they have a chance to win that series.
There's no question about that. They have. I mean, I agree with you on Stamkos. And one thing I've noticed is, maybe I'm missing it. I'm not catching all their games, the whole game. I mean, but I'm not seeing the typical off your opposite foot one-timer that Stamkos just does him unbelievably well. You know what I mean? That play that you see him.
Well, they had a double minor. Pasternak had a high sticking penalty. I think it was in the third period when the game was 3-1, and I didn't see Stamkos out there for the entire 4 minutes. So something's got to be wrong if he's not. Either he was not out there, or you just didn't notice that he was out there. But I didn't see him out there for the. They had Kucherov, they had Palat, they had Killorn, they had a Point. I did not see Stamkos. So if he wasn't out there, that rings warning bells.
Yeah, I mean, and that power play is Stamkos's. That's his domain. That's where.
Yeah, the one timer on the opposite wing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's his spot. And I haven't seen that shot, and that's like virtually unstoppable shot. That he has, and I haven't seen it yet. And I do think that there's an interesting thing that came to mind last night. When McDonough did that. And like I said, it would be the Ranger players who would lead Tampa's angriness back, because it's like there's something about original 6 teams and their ability to find a level of anger. And I've noticed that. And it's true. I mean, it's the bottom line. There's another level. My favorite moment of this, and I've mentioned it before, I'm sure, but came in the Vancouver-Boston Stanley Cup final, where Vancouver was cruising pretty well, in the beginning of that series. They looked like they were doing pretty well. And then they knocked out the guy who never really played again. What was his name?
Nathan Raymond.
Nathan Horton.
Nathan Horton.
They knocked out
when Aaron Rome hit him.
Right. Aaron Rome hits Nathan Horton. When the Canucks are in charge, Canucks are doing everything fine, everything well. They hit Nathan Horton, and I wrote at the time, and I said it in the press box to the people. I think it was Eric DeHashik, who was to my right. I said, you should never wake up an original 6 team with a hit like that.
They quoted Admiral Yamamoto, never awaken a sleeping giant. because
yeah,
that's
absolutely. And they completely did. And they found, and Boston really after that was not the same. They were completely, there's all this, we're playing against a fast Vancouver team, we're playing against a quick team and all that stuff. All that went away. And it became suddenly like we are going to kill them. And
well,
Peter, I'm sure
there's a little bit of limit. We got to get a bigger picture on this.
Okay.
Because at that point in time, Kessler was playing with half an ankle.
Right.
Edler didn't have a hand. And there's 2 other injuries that we found out about after the series are over.
Oh, yeah.
So what Aaron Rome did was he took first intense 2 games. And then in game 3, he made it so that Boston said, oh, this is what you want to do now.
Right.
Let's go. And then then it got really physical.
Right.
Mason Raymond was in a neck brace and a spine after his
I remember, yeah.
neck. Like it got nasty.
Well,
No,
Peter, I mean,
and the Canucks didn't have the horses at that point to play nasty. It was a bad move by Rome.
Yeah.
It was a bad move and it was a good move. It was a good move in the sense that Aaron Rome was a tertiary player. He was like a 4th line, he was an extra body, and he took out the guy who scored the overtime winner in Game 7 against Montreal. He was Nathan Horton. At that point was one of the Bruins' best.
He was
forwards.
playing really well. He was kicking on all cylinders, and he got leveled and completely. And it ended his career, but it was a hit.
No, it didn't. I mean,
much. I mean, it really did, kind of.
No, I mean, it wasn't concussions that ended his career. It was back problems.
I know, but I felt like he never returned from that hit. Like completely. It could be. What I mean, maybe it wasn't technically. It looked like it could have easily been a concussion as well. Like it was one of those hits that was just so terrible. But regardless, the whole point of it is that you don't see Tampa responding like that in Game 1, but you see McDonough. Who's got that blood in him of like, okay, but playing in the, those Flyers, Islanders, Flyers, there's Islanders, Rangers games, there's, Rangers, Flyers games. It seemed like another level to me.
And I'm not comparing Tampa Bay of this year to the Bruins of 2011 because that would be unfair. But I did see more than just McDonough. I mean, Yanni Gourde was getting in the face of people. Hedman for the first time started to really throw his weight around. There was, if you remember, it wasn't just the Aaron Rome hit. It was it was also Tim Thomas getting physical with some of the Canuck players in front of the net, and obviously one word, speed bag. Once that happened,
but that was in Game 6.
But all that happens after, like, as I was in Boston, and for that Game 3, and I'm sitting there, and the place gets silent, dead silent when Horton's hit on the ice. It's like crazy. Yeah. And the feeling in there was horrible because this is obviously a big player. They're down in the series. Vancouver's looking good in that game. And suddenly, but when the Bruins came out with their next shift, there was that level of like, okay, they might beat us in the series, but we're going to beat them to death on it. And they came out, and that's what you have to do in the playoffs. At some point you have to do that. And it's just, and that's what, this year, and I was at the Flyers game, with the Game 4 against the Penguins. And I'm sitting there with my daughter, who's bless her heart, like actually says this to me. If they're not going to score, at least they should hit somebody.
Right.
And I'm like, awesome. I raised you the right way. At least they should hit somebody, someone, she wants to say at the end because she thinks a fight's going to break out. I'm like, maybe, but this Flyers team isn't physical. They're not a physical team. Yeah. So, but there's something different. And I really felt like that last night. Now, whether or not Tampa can continue that on or not is another question, right?
Well, I think they can, because I think it was the offense that woke up just as much as anything in their game. I saw that offense that we all said teams should be afraid of. That offense wasn't there in the first game. They just not even close.
Right. Yeah, and I have to say that you were dead on, Russ, yesterday regarding some of the veteran guys. I mean, I thought Girardi was okay yesterday, but Braden Colburn made 2 absolutely unforgivable defensive errors in his own zone that one of them almost led to a goal. I mean, this guy's experience, he only played like 14 minutes yesterday. He played marginally more than the rookie, Sergachev, and he was brutal out there.
Can I talk about Braden Coburn for a second? So, and this kind of a little background on Braden Coburn, because, obviously he was in Philly. And when he was in Philly was when I had my Flyer Buzz TV show that was on Comcast. And one of the segments of that show was Bill Clement would get head-to-head with a player, and we would film that player for an entire game before we would make sure the Flyers had footage of just that isolated on that player for the entire game. And then Bill would go shift to shift and ask all these cool little things about what they were doing away from the play, different things. I learned a lot in that thing. I really did. It was really fascinating. And So we did one with Mike Richards, which is still awesome. I mean, the stuff I learned about Mike Richards was amazing. Kimo Timonen was amazing. Braden Coburn's was interesting from a different level. And that was, there were many times when Bill said, "What were you doing here?" And Braden Coburn says, "Well, I was wondering if I should do this or that. I was guessing between this and that. I was thinking about this or that." And then Bill says another point where Braden Coburn made a really nice play, and Braden said, "Yeah, I was just going for it." And Bill's like, "I've noticed in your career that, you know, when you're at your best, you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're just reacting and playing." And that is Braden Coburn to a T. There are moments when he could be, even with the Flyers, when they had their run in 2010, he was amazing. And there are moments when he looks like everything of the prospect that he was supposed to be. And then there's moments when he hesitates or questions himself for a split second. And now as he's gotten older, he hesitates more and more and more because he's not sure if he can actually physically do it.
There wasn't any hesitancy here. He just put the puck right on the Bruins forward.
Oh, I know.
I think it means mentally, Mike.
It's mental. It's like, it's more of a mental thing of like, of not Coburn. Some players have to think when they play, and some players have to not think when they play.
Right.
And Coburn really is a not think. Like if he's not, he can trip himself up because he's a real thoughtful, like he's a real mental guy.
Yeah.
He can trip himself up, and Keith Primo was the same way. I always thought Keith Primo could trip himself up if he thought about what he was doing, but if he just played, he was phenomenal. Right. So I really see, and it must be harder on Coburn as he gets older when his talents and skills aren't quite what they were. Yeah. Because now you're really questioning those things all the time. Right.
And the one thing about that game, and then we can move on to the other one because the other one was fantastic as well, is the fact that this is I think the first game where the Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand line, did most of the scoring and the Bruins didn't win. I mean, that one goal that McAvoy, did you see the goal that McAvoy scored? I've never seen a unit of players go into an offensive zone as quickly as they did, like a hot knife through butter, and set up McAvoy at point blank range, and the defenseman screened Vasilevsky. I mean, it was like it was surgical. It was that quick.
Never before have you. I mean, and there's so many instances of this, but this is really obvious that of what confidence is in hockey. Like of like the skill level, the talent level is one thing, but what confidence does for players is unbelievable. Like if a line's confident and think they can't be beaten, I mean, we saw it. We've seen it all throughout history, right? You've seen all different kinds of lines that get that way, and some of them are super talented. Some of them are, I mean, this is obviously three very talented players, but when they're that, and talent will, hard work beats talent, and talent with hard work beats hard work, but talent with hard work and confidence beats everything. I mean, and that's what you're looking at. They're working hard. They're talented. They're confident. It's just there's.
I wanted to answer something. I think when people saw this game and they've seen how McAvoy's played, Arthur Staple took a rip at a lot of other writers by saying, "Well, I had McAvoy third on my Calder vote ballot, and I don't think a lot of my brethren, or whatever he said wording wise, had him on there, and that's not right." And I had him on mine. He was fifth, but the idea is this was a great rookie crop, and just because he looks great in this game doesn't make a season. We voted already. The vote. Right. It's like, why are you posting this yesterday? Like, I got a little annoyed because, like, when I posted my Hart vote, I knew there would be a lot of issues with the Hart trophy, right?
And I get what Arthur Staple is saying, because you see McAvoy and you see the skill level and you say, how could he not? But remember, he was out for 20 games, and I think that not disqualified him, but just like Bergeron was the leading candidate for the Hart, and then he broke his foot and he was out for 20 games. So that pretty much disqualified. I mean, I think Kyle Connor, Clayton Keller, Alex DeBrincat. I mean, how many guys got left off the list this year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get it. He's an impressive player, but it's just like, it's one of those things where I didn't throw everybody under the bus when I put my ballot up. I just said, hey, I did vote for Giroux, and basically to say other people probably did too. But, he said McAvoy didn't get more love from he was surprised McAvoy didn't get more love from my fellow voters. And it's like, how do you know?
Right.
You've seen the votes.
The results aren't out yet.
All right. So did you guys see this?
I'm done ranting.
All right, so this is a classic moment from last night's game. This is actually where Marchand is going to bite the linesman, but realizes it's a linesman and stops
like an animal.
Wow, he's just reacting. He's like, I'm going to bite him, and then wait a second, that's the linesman. I'm going to
like a badger. Yeah,
he is a badger. That's the best way to describe him, right? I mean,
but you can't look. I think Brad. We're all going to say Brad Marchand's a great guy off the ice. Okay, fine. Now we got that out of the way. You can't act like a lunatic like that on the ice all the time, even if it makes you a better player, because at some point the league is going to have a crackdown on this guy, because he is going to bite a referee or he is going to do something stupid, and that's going to be that. The fans
right now. It's all part of his lore.
They're actually turning into Alex Burrows, is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's turning into Alex Burrows.
Yeah.
So you can stop this.
Or Matt Cook or anybody like that.
It's funny because, I always hear stuff about Alex Burrows, but, in the East, we didn't see him as much as annoying as he was, right? So, but, it is a Sean Avery. It's Thomas Sandstrom, like I said, it's like, it is these guys who really, completely, it's just it's so annoying. But you know what? It's so awesome because, like, to me, and just from our perspective, I think it's awesome that we have characters like this in the game. And I know it's gross and all that stuff, but at the same time, Marshawn's gotten to the point where he has like a lure to him at this point. Like he can go out and not do something stupid and still keep people on edge because he might.
I don't know how awesome it would have been for the linesman to have to go get a rabies shot.
Yeah, I know.
Mike Tyson had a lure like that too. I can tell he bit off part of Evander Holyfield's ear, and this is the direction we're going now.
No, and even that, and I know. Listen. You know what I'm saying though. There's
kissing,
there's
licking, fighting.
Of course, this is totally wrong and 100% ridiculous and disgusting. But at the same time, when like fans who are watching this are like, oh man, he's crazy, and this is something like. Right,
but this isn't professional wrestling. That's the problem.
It doesn't matter because it's like
professional wrestling.
Like I remember when I remember interviewing Pronger during the Anaheim Ducks Cup run, and at one point, he got suspended or it took somebody out. I forget who it was.
He got suspended. It's hard to
during the playoffs.
He cross-checked somebody. That's
right during the playoffs. He cross-checked somebody, and that he did it. And he said, "Yeah, I did it earlier in the playoffs. It was like the second round or third round." And he said, and since then, no one's come across like with their head down. It's like, and and Pronger knew it. Pronger knew, like, I'm going to make this happen, and then I'm going to completely give myself all this space because of it. I'm going to give myself all this stuff.
I'll give you an old time example of this. Gilbert Perreault, first pick in the draft, 1970, was known mostly as a skill player. Early in his career, I think it was 72 or 73. He fought Brian Watson. Brian Watson was the biggest goon in the NHL, and he beat him. Nobody ever challenged Gilbert Perreault again.
Right.
Like I told you with Andy Bathgate when he what he did to Gordie Howe. Gordie Howe never touched him again.
There is this lure that follows players. I mean, the Flyers power play, the way to beat it used to be all the time. You would just challenge them, not give them any time or space.
This is not like an intimidation thing by Marshawn. This is a crazy thing.
No, but there has to be a little bit of crazy there.
This is crazy thing. Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
The best Muhammad Ali quotes ever was, "Everyone's scared of a crazy man."
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And I think he said it when he was before the Rumble in the Jungle, when the fight got delayed, and it's in the movie When We Were Kings, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Everyone's scared of a crazy man," because and he's right.
But this is
absolutely right, and it plays in it. It's not doesn't make it right.
But
we're reporting on it. We're not trying to. We shouldn't be like judging this necessarily as much as we're reporting on what's happening.
No,
what's happening is Marshawn is doing this.
Right, but this is bordering on Sean Avery dancing in front of Brodeur. It's I think it's untoward. That's what I'm saying.
It's judging, because if he were to bite a referee, it would be the bite heard around the world. It would be on every show. It would be on every sports show. It would be on every nightly news.
Yeah, no, that's true, and
it does look bad for the sport.
It looks bad for the sport. I think it does. I'm not going to deny that. Let's move on. But this is really funny. Someone sent to me the Washington Nationals ticket promotion. Have you heard about this? This is really good. Washington Nationals are selling tickets for $10.57 against the Pirates because of the Pirates' non-goal against the Capitals with 10:57 remaining. And the code is no goal if you go on the Nationals.
Wow.
You know what I thought they were doing? I thought that 10:57 was the time that the subway shut down, so fans would have to walk home when games got late.
This is cocky. I mean, this is if the Penguins were doing that or the Pirates were doing this the opposite. Like when I first read, I'm like, oh, the Pirates are doing that to like make a statement. When you get away with something and then you use it as your code.
Yeah, but let's not put too much thought into this. This is the Nationals saying nobody's coming to see the sucky Pittsburgh Pirates, so let's dream up a promotion here to get a couple thousand more people in to the stadium on a cold May night.
Well, I can't imagine. I mean, that one of 160 some games is important. So I understand.
Oh, don't go there.
All right. So, all right.
Why?
So Malkin and Dumoulin are on the ice for the Penguins.
Right.
Yeah, today. What do we think?
I don't think it's going to play. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think Dumoulin's going to play, but I think there's a chance
Malcolm will play.
Yeah, Malkin will play.
Yeah. I think Malkin will play too. And I think, and I'm surprised he
actually. All they need, to be honest. Like, even though their defense isn't fantastic, once you put Malkin on the ice, he is a force of nature. He does play defense.
And he actually is probably better than any other player in the NHL at playing hurt. Like, I'll tell you that we've seen Malkin play hurt.
Yes.
Unbelievably. Like, he was hurt last year in the playoffs against the Sharks or whatever.
Yeah.
He was really hurt. And remember, or was it the series before that? I'm not trying to remember which one it was. But
no, it was 2 years. 2 years.
2 years ago, because there were rumors about him being traded. Remember?
Yeah.
And he went in and actually said at one point, "I don't want to be traded." And he had made this big deal. He went into the GM midway through the playoffs and said, "I really want to stay here." But he was so hurt, and you would see him in the locker room afterwards, and he could barely walk, agonizing, and yet he's on the ice and playing some of the best hockey I'd ever seen him play.
He's a tough guy. He can play through pain.
He really can. And I mean, I think Hagelin is actually a bigger deal in some ways than people think. Like, I think they need Hagelin. I think they need
they need him on the PK. I mean, he's
on the PK for sure. Yes.
Yeah. I think they do need the speed out there.
I think we're understating.
That was a dirty hit.
Right, and I think we're understating the loss of Dumoulin if Dumoulin doesn't play. And again, I know I railed about it yesterday, but the fact that there was not even a hearing for Tom Wilson on that elbow basically undercuts the credibility of the Department of Player Safety, because if you don't think that was purposeful, I mean, he elbowed him straight in the head.
Of course it was purposeful.
Yeah,
well, I know, but they were saying that, and I can't remember who it was, but Doughty had the game for the one for the elbow, for the hit to the head on Carrier, and then there was another hit that everybody thought should have been a game suspension, and they said it hit the shoulder rather than the head, and they didn't suspend. This is sort of like picking. It's really, really subjective, and I don't understand how they could have not suspended Wilson for a game based on his reputation and based on the actual foul itself.
Interesting thing here that just was handed to me, and this is
who handed it to you?
Right over there. You didn't see the person handed it?
I thought Rusted Chicken was back. I was curious.
Rusted Chicken right over there. Oh, hey now. All right, so it was that Rick Dudley is going to be the new vice president of the Carolina Hurricanes, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't see that earlier. Sorry, guys.
You didn't see that? Oh, it's the Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Thrashers.
Right.
You had your moment. You blew it.
I know.
Dudley, Dudley's one of my favorite people in hockey, and I think
he's a great guy. He is.
I think this is a great move.
He's a great guy, and he's a great evaluator of talent.
Yeah.
But this does not minimize the train wreck that is the Carolina Hurricanes, because also in concert with this announcement was the announcement, John Shannon reported it, that Don Waddell has shut down the GM search. Why? Yeah. Because Don Waddell wants to be the GM.
No. Why?
Yes, that's being reported.
That's what's been reported.
I don't agree that he wants to be the GM for talking to people. But I mean, if them reporting that, I really think that they have to check their sources on that. Why I think he's doing it is because this GM search has gotten friggin' embarrassing. And they just have to put it away. They have to, and the hiring of Dudley is something they had to do, because now I have another. This is interesting. So this is kind of I guess I can share this, but I can share this for sure. I was told yesterday by a really good source. Okay, something now. The whole Ron Francis thing that went down.
His contract being terminated.
Right. I don't know if this is out there or not, but it was actually a mutual decision. I was told, because I really believe this was 100% sources I got it from, that actually there was just a lot of money owed to Francis, and it was almost a buyout. And there was a big thing there. So I don't know. I have to find more about it. But I
don't think that's outrageous, but
yeah.
I mean, we knew he wasn't staying. That was the point.
But the way they're selling it is really bad. If that is the case, then they're not being honest about that. To me, that's bad, because they really
may not be being honest publicly.
Well, I mean,
they're being internally within the NHL network. That's going to be known.
Oh yeah, no, it's
go
known now
down
for
that
sure.
road, everyone's going to hear. So
Yeah, but it looks
hopefully
bad.
it's favorable to Francis, and there isn't a bit of a stench attached.
Yeah, I mean, I think that normally in this situation, you want to be professional. You give Francis the you give him the chance to resign or whatever. You give him something like that, like if they're mutually buying out, you say both sides have come to a decision that this just doesn't work together anymore. Very different than the way it was sold when it happened, right? So there's something, I don't know. To me, it's a minor thing, but protocol is important.
But I mean, this is a significant change going on because Joe Nieuwendyk resigned as well. So, there's a look. You can call it what you want. You can phrase it any way you like. This is a changing of direction by the owner and getting out from underneath what he inherited when he bought the team.
Yeah.
However that works. He may not like those deals. So he's going to the point of saying, I've got to get out of them. The sooner I do it, the sooner people will forget how it was rather than dragging it out. There's merit to that strategy. Whether the rest of us would do it that way is another story. Whether it's traditional in hockey to do it that way is another story. Tom Dundon is not traditional. So let's just assume he's going to be doing some different things.
It's a complete scorched earth policy on what was there when Karmanos was there. Yeah. Peters is gone. Francis is gone. Nieuwendyk is gone. Now Waddell seems to be taking even if it's temporary, he seems to be taking an increased role. He's bringing in a guy who he trusts, who he worked with in Atlanta. Apparently the scouting and the analytics, Tulski, and that hasn't been touched at all. But honestly, if I'm a Carolina fan, I don't feel comfortable with what's going on right now. Here's
what I'm researching, and if we play Remember When, let's say Don Waddell does remain as GM, he did not have. There wasn't a great salary structure in Atlanta. Like, I'm looking up salaries. Like, Chris Mason got $3.7 million. Like, I remember that. He should not have gotten $3.7 million from the Atlanta Thrashers. I'm getting it off Cap Friendly. So,
remember at the time that it was a little bit hard to keep people in Atlanta.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money, don't you think?
No, it was too much money for sure. And I think
Edstrom's complete contract was $15 million. I don't know what he was getting per year, but even that was pretty high for Toby Edstrom. What he is.
I think it was something like 3.75 a year for 4 years.
Waddell's strength is as a president. Like his strength is that Waddell in Atlanta would wander the concourse in between periods and talk to people.
Yes, right. Promoting and public relations. And
that's what he does.
Great personality. He's not great with contracts.
And
really good at that other thing. So you have to know what you're really good at, right?
And Dudley is a rink rat. Dudley is a guy who will snoop out prospects. I've seen him. Covering, scouting the AHL. I'm sure he goes to junior games. That's if he's in a player person and he's VP of hockey operations. If he's in a player acquisition mode or role, then that's perfect for him. But until I have a more defined management structure here, to me, this is just chaos. That's what it is.
There's something to this. If Dudley's going there, I'm sorry, Peter. If Dudley's going there. There's something because Dudley's very happy where he is right now.
I was good.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Right now, I know Bergevin got an extension, but everything is on a teeter-totter with Montreal.
Montreal, but he gets to live in Buffalo. He gets to do that thing, and that
he probably still does. But
I don't think so. No, he's not going to be able to. No, he's going to have to go to Carolina for this for sure. And
you mean you have to leave Buffalo to go to Carolina?
I know, but
he was assistant general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, and he didn't go to Montreal.
Montreal is a rudderless ship.
Yes.
It's bad shape. General manager in the press box in Philly of the Montreal Canadiens. Remember, Russ? He was there the whole time. Yep. And what was his name? I'm sorry.
Pierre Gauthier.
Yeah, Pierre Gauthier was with us all the time, and he
lived in Philly, and he was still the GM.
He went to a special private school outside of Philly. They didn't want to move him, so he was there. So he was the nicest guy to talk to. He was a really good guy. It is a strange situation, but I think that for him to go there, I would bet that he's got more player personnel say than Waddell will have.
you may be right, and he's worked with Waddell before, but you cannot convince me that one of the main reasons that Dudley jumped from Montreal to Carolina was the fact that the Canadians over the last couple of years have been an utter train wreck, and there's probably more security in Carolina with a fresh start than there is in Montreal, who if they have another bad season, Bergevin is going to get his head chopped off.
Yeah, and then you're gone anyways. So
we have to move on, guys. We're running out of time. We got to move on to these games.
Coach though, they don't have a coach. That's another.
Yeah, they got a lot of things they still have to do, and we'll definitely get into Carolina more. But let's quickly let's do our attic thing, and then move on to the other two the games.
So here's the attic thing.
Here's your attic.
Fisher Price movie projector, and you can see.
Nice.
That, you rotate that, and it's got a place where you insert the cassette. This cassette is of Phil Esposito.
No way.
From the
That's awesome.
And you pop it in, and
I love it.
No way.
And it's really great.
That wins.
The one thing that I learned from this, a friend gave it to me as a gift. The one thing I learned from it is Esposito is still slow on the projector no matter how fast you move it.
No matter how fast you move it.
Excuse me.
And I bet he still has opinions.
Yeah, he always does. That's from the 70s, and it's a cool thing. And I haven't gotten other cassettes yet, but I might down the road.
Is that next to your lava lamp or your kaleidoscope, Russ?
Yes.
Well, on eBay, you'd have to find other things. I mean, that can't be
hard to find. You could find
about 8 years ago. I was at a dinner with Tony Esposito.
Nice guy, yeah.
And he was the keynote speaker, and his speech was unbelievable.
Yep.
He was talking about doing things with his girlfriends in the back of his Corvette. It was insane.
Tony is funny, and he's borderline crazy. But he's
funny. Thank you, Russ. That I just should have just said that.
There were no shutouts in that situation, Peter.
No, when you get the guys from that era to talk, you are in for a fun time, because that was right before social media hits and all that stuff, and there is like a whole people like I told you, I think I mentioned before that one of my buddies was on the LA Kings was Gretzky's roommate with the Kings, and his job was to be with Gretzky got a girl, whatever, or something. This is before the Kings. Sorry, way before the Kings. Back in Edmonton, if he got somebody, if he got somebody, or a girl just even was talking to Gretzky, he had to stay the entire time to make sure that Gretzky was that this girl couldn't accuse him of something later.
Right, there was a witness.
So that's
he was the witness.
Breaking Islander news this morning, but you probably see it. No, but it's good news. You have to give. I feel like I have to find good news for Islander fans where I could find it. And over the next week or two, or in the coming weeks, Anatoly Golishev is going to go to visit New York, and he's checking it out because in a year he will play for the Islanders. He's a pretty good scorer. He's had years of 25 goals. Last year he had 19 goals. Yeah. 2016 draft pick. He's only 5'9", but he's fast.
Yeah.
He could definitely do something for them. So
he was like a 5th round pick for them, and I remember talking about Golishev because there was a lot of talk about the Leafs being interested in him because he was really, really prominent in the KHL at that point. Mikko Koskinen, Russ, he signed with the Oilers, which I thought his rights were still attached to the Islanders, but
I thought so too, but it must have run out.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the games here because we have quick things.
Yep.
So let's first talk about the Vegas San Jose for a second while we have it, because it was another just incredible game, and thank God for the Vegas Golden Knights are the most interesting thing to watch in these playoffs every time they go on the ice. It's just crazy. This was a really good game.
Except they nodded off, but it was a good game.
It was hard to stay awake. I was with you on that one. It was hard to stay awake.
I was actually pissed off that San Jose scored because I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay up for the overtime, and I woke up. I woke up just before Carlson scored. I don't know why, but I mean, the only thing they have to be concerned about is the fact that Vegas seemed to have that game into control. They were up 3-1, and I think they tried to sit back a little bit and rely on Fleury. And I think you have to learn that you can't do that. I mean, no matter how great Fleury is, I mean, eventually, they're going to break through. I did think both of those goals, both San Jose goals, I thought there was the potential of the goalie, the review for goalie interference, especially the Evander Kane one, where I think it was Couture made contact with Fleury, but there was a brief replay, and then they just went on with it. So, I mean, but now Vegas is back in control of the series.
But here's the thing, though. I feel like, and this is where the good coaching of Peter DeBoer comes in. I feel like San Jose is starting to figure things out with Vegas now and are playing them a lot better. Yeah. The insertion of and using Timo Meier more is definitely helping. He scored a nice goal. LeBanc has actually been a really good player for them this series too. He's really and I think it is the younger, faster players that are actually going to have to help out the rest of the team here because of the way Vegas plays. On the flip side, the Alex Tuck to Marchessault goal was fantastic. Like that was just
I know.
A pretty goal, man. That was just spectacular. And again, Minnesota just gave him away, man. They just take Alex Tuck so you make sure that you don't take X, Y, and Z, and they got a free player out of it. Wow.
I love that they call Willie Carlson. Man, you hearing the echo too, or just me?
No, it stopped.
It's gone. I love that they call Carlson Wild Bill Carlson or whatever they call him because the guy is like so quiet and doesn't speak at all. He's like this like really like but what a shot. I mean, gosh, that's just like
okay.
We often say overtimes have to end on ugly goals. That was a beautiful shot.
I have to, and there's not much I can really question about Peter DeBoer because I think he's a pretty good coach. But when you send a player down to the minors for 60 some odd games because you think he is past it, and that's Paul Martin. And you call him up late in the year, and now he's got a significant role. He played 15 minutes last night, and he was -2. How in God's name are you playing this guy that much? Because that's not bottom pairing minutes. 15 minutes is more.
That's his Andre Schuster, Mike. Like that's what it is.
Right. It's but you apparently, unless it was Doug Wilson's decision to send him to the minors halfway through the season. I mean,
who knows? I mean, but coaches do this, but.
This is a defensive experienced guy with playoff experience. That's what they're looking at.
At the end of the day, the side story with Carlson is he is going to get a huge raise this year.
Oh my gosh!
And and look, Vegas is having a magic moment here. But in a couple of years, when they have to start actually paying players, things are going to change for them. They are.
I mean, but they have a couple of years, and if they can stay this good, I mean that's also going to change things. Because the thing right now is that players want to go there. I mean, this is not and to be in the situation they are with the money they have to spend this summer, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's incredibly enviable that they can bring a couple guys for 1 or 2 years. I mean, the only issue they have is not screwing this up, like chemistry wise. Like they have to be careful not to like go hog wild because they could. I mean, and they almost if they really were after Erik Karlsson the trade deadline, that could have screwed things up. I mean, and they didn't do it.
I don't know. I don't think the acquisition of Tatar has screwed them up.
No, but we don't know what they would have had to give up to get Karlsson, and that's what
probably would have
been.
Well,
nothing they did screwed them up. I mean, remember when they acquired Brassard, which was basically seen across the league as a block on Winnipeg, and it hasn't done anything to him.
No, and it was such a sly move by Pittsburgh.
Was Shipachyov, and they quickly corrected it. Like that was the only.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. All right, so let's move on to tonight's games. The one thing I'm pissed off about tonight's games: why does the Pittsburgh Washington game start at 7:30, and the Predators Jets start at 8? I mean, Eastern time.
I know, that is dumb. They want to have games to show the other ones at break in period.
It's crazy. And you know what? Here's the other thing: on Thursday night, the Predators Jets game starts at 8:30 local time.
Yeah. I mean, so tonight is 7 o'clock, right? 7 o'clock.
It should have been 7 and 9. It should have been Eastern time. It should have been 7 and 9:30 because then it would have been.
Want to show you bonus.
Well, that's what they're going to do. That's what Peter's saying. Say that's 8:30 local time, right? So, I think this should be. I think it should be 7 and 9. Just start your game at 8 o'clock local time and start the earlier game at 7.
Why can't the game on the Eastern Standard Time start at 6? Like,
yeah, right. Well, people will freak out.
We've had 2 games in Winnipeg or 2 games in this series start at 6.
That's because Wentz Winnipeg. Come on, you can't do that to Pittsburgh.
Two top teams in the league, but let's adjust everyone else.
These games on NBC SN or NBC?
Tonight is NBC SN for Capitals and Penguins and the
and USA Network probably.
It's actually on the Animal Channel. Predators and Jets. I'm just kidding. It's on CNBC.
Okay, so it could start at 6 o'clock. There's nothing.
So Russ, we get a full blast of Staten Island Hustle again.
Yes, at least 12 reminders about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I know. So, and here's the other thing I want to throw out there. Have you guys tried watching the games on Hulu?
No, I have no reason to be on.
I've tried. Like I've gone to Hulu as
Yeah.
you know, because you know somebody gave me access.
Who? I don't know, Mike. Who would do that?
Yeah, no, I don't know, but
It's wrong and don't ever do it.
I've gone there looking for it, and I can't find it on there.
It's on there, but every time I go to it, every single game has been blacked out. So I'm totally confused as to what's happening. Like it's like it doesn't matter where the game is, it's blacked out. And I pay for Hulu like extra, like Hulu without commercials. Hulu, every game is blacked out.
Really?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and I don't know, and I'm so confused by this. Like they're making such a big deal about the fact that it's on Hulu.
Because they think they're dragging in or pulling in the cord cutters.
Yeah,
but they're not. I guess it's not worked out the way
they're making such
Hulu
a big.
Still has to abide by digital rights and locations. They don't get around it. That's the thing. It's just like, so I can watch, like I have my it's called Shaw on Demand. I have an app on my phone or my iPad.
Right.
Log on to my computer. I wanted to watch the Jets game as in BC. Couldn't do it because I'm out of my market.
Right.
So it's the same thing. So who's going to have the same problem? They're just an online cable carrier. So if you're a cable carrier and you've got to deal with all these things with the other markets, why should Hulu get a break?
Well, no,
they shouldn't. But every game, Peter, like every single game, like games that are not blacked out for me, if they were on the Center Ice package, or wouldn't have been blacked out in the Center Ice package, are blacked out on Hulu. Like I have not been able to watch a single game live on Hulu.
That's
and
weird.
I have watched in other places, but I just wanted to see what it was about because they were advertising it so much.
Well, MLB BAM has definitely had an effect because I have to tell you this because. You know, and driving back from Toronto a couple times, I wanted to listen to some of the playoff games on the way back. And in the past, I was able to just go into like TuneIn Radio and find out whatever station, say Nashville, whatever their station was, and just listen to it on TuneIn or iHeartRadio or one of the radio apps. Well, now they're doing the same thing that they've done with baseball. Whereas, like if you wanted to listen to the Yankees on WFAN, they have it blacked out, and you have to go in through the At Bat app to listen to the game. So luckily I have access to the NHL.com website and I can listen to Pete Weber there. But if I didn't have access to that, I wouldn't be able to listen.
Right. And this is so we're in such an uncomfortable growing phase period of all this. And I get that there's certain things that, they're trying to, and everybody's still trying to get paid, and the problem is the middlemen, right? Like there's all these people trying to still be the middlemen and still trying to like make like, it should be pretty simple, but it's not. I mean, the fact that we get this, coverage will resume shortly thing is absurd to me. Like that they're not using that for advertising.
The problem, yes, is the middlemen, but see, this is the thing with digital media that's really hard. You make all these different things, but you're not the content producer. You're the content distributor. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it, but yet Netflix does and Amazon does, and that's a bit of a diversion. But here's the thing.
To these other
here's the thing. If you need to listen to someone, they already are under contract to somewhere else. So you've got to get someone to call the game. Well, there's only so much space in a press box for broadcast crews to call games.
That's true.
So you've got to pick up their feed, and the rights on those feeds affects where you can broadcast and who you can listen to. It's just goofy.
Why not just throw in the, like, I've always wanted this option and it's never been available. I want to watch a game without broadcasters, but I want to hear the crowd and I want to hear the PA announcer. Why can't I do that? Like,
it's possible. It's possible because they have secondary and like tertiary audio broadcasts for other sports. I know that like Sportsnet toyed with something where they had like Jeff Merrick and a couple other people talking about the game during the game. And I personally would like to listen to that rather than listen to, say Jim Houston or whatever about broadcasting, because I would prefer to listen to something else.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it's anyway, that this whole thing was ridiculous. But let's move to all right. So Pittsburgh.
It's online. There's a person saying, and Hulu said they would pass it on to the team, so it seems like it's legit. That when you sign on for the Hulu games, that they're asking you to pay $40 a month.
I have not seen that.
Oh, there you go. So it's pay-per-view basically.
I haven't seen that at all.
So Hulu,
I mean, maybe it is case, but
also let's not assume that it's just about the NHL. Hulu's just advertising.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about the NHL.
Well, all I know is, Peter, is if you go to the NHL website and you're looking up the replay of, say, Mark Scheifele's goal, you get the 30-second Hulu commercial before every freaking video.
And on the boards of every
Canada,
arena. Hulu's painted on the boards of every arena right now. So you go through, it's like there's certain things that you're seeing everywhere. That and the Dunkin' Donuts thing.
Read this tweet whenever and determine, but it does seem like there's a problem in certain markets, and this is a certain market, but I don't know which market.
I am definitely a certain market then, because it's not working for me at all, and it's very frustrating. And it's very embarrassing for them. I mean, not that I can't watch it 100 different ways, but it's just like, but if I'm a Hulu subscriber, which I am, I thought, okay, I watch almost everything on Hulu. Hulu is like my most common thing that I go to. So anyway, tonight, let's talk about the Preds and Jets first, real quick. Not real quick, but let's get into this. This comes home to Winnipeg, right? Come home to Winnipeg. You gonna be there tonight, Pete?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there.
Right.
Excellent.
Yep.
So
I'll be there and having fun. They expanded the whiteout party. They've done everything.
Nice.
This game, I put it up in the blog today. I saw 6 things that has to change for Winnipeg if they're going to hold serve here. Nashville absolutely owned them along the boards in the game too. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. 3 goals were directly decided by Winnipeg's poor play along the boards. They got to change that.
Yeah.
And they got to get someone else going other than Stastny, Ehlers, Line A. And Line A looks gassed, but that line, Stastny's having hell of a series and Scheifele. So Wheeler's been a bit of a, he's done some things, but he hasn't really been Blake Wheeler. Kyle Connor's got to pot something, and someone else has got to start scoring. It needs to be done. They got to reduce mistakes. And the biggest one, though, is reads and passing. The Jets' passing in game 2 was hideous.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, game 1, they were under siege all the time, so they were throwing it up, and they were prepared to do that. But game 2, there was cuteness, there was goofiness. And I don't know if it's the ice, I don't know if it's miscommunication because the crowd noise, environment, all these things, but they've got to pick that up and make their and then make their reads better in a lot of different situations. And I think if they can do that, and Paul Maurice can manage his lines with home ice last shift, they can win. But a lot of things got to go right too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think you're totally right. And what'll be interesting is the last shift thing against Laviolette. What Peter tends to do when he goes on an away game in the playoffs is he just rolls 4 lines and doesn't think about it as much. He's just gonna roll the 4 lines, roll the 4 lines. And so that gives Maurice like a way to game plan pretty easily. So he should be able to pick this up. I mean, who do you want line A to go against? Basically, that's what you're saying. Who do you want that line to be up against? What line do you think is the best line? I don't know. I mean,
what line gives them the least amount of trouble head to head?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, I kind of like the idea of going up against Ryan Johansson because I think that Johansson's probably the worst defensively of anybody on this team. But that would mean Line A going up against, I think, Arvidsson, wouldn't it? I mean, and I mean Arvidsson poses a lot of problems because he's small and really quick. And not to say Line A's not quick, but I mean,
not.
Line A should be able to dominate Arvidsson physically. I mean, totally. There's no question about that.
But if he's gassed,
yeah. I mean, I think the defense is going to be the key for Winnipeg. The defense stepping up in the play in these 2 games. I think. I think that's the one place that I don't feel like they've completely done it well yet in this series from watching it. But maybe they will. I heard an interesting stat that since 2013-14, the leading playoffs point scorer of among defensemen is PK Subban. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so you got to get PK out. You got to make sure to not play PK's game. And Byfuglien, don't you think, has to he tends to go a little. He's gonna be really amped up.
Byfuglien's gonna be a bull in a china shop. He's gonna be running over people like crazy. He ran over somebody in that last game. It was just scary. It was like a cartwheel.
Oh yeah.
Byfuglien needs to Gadzik someone. He needs to do that hit that he did in Gadzik and just absolutely change the temperature of that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wrote today too. Yes, the physical play needs to be there, but if you're just going around to chase hits, you're going to get killed.
Right.
That's the worst thing to do. Nashville, eat your lunch and then your dinner, and then show up again for your breakfast tomorrow morning. If you do that, like it's got to be smart, and it's got to be timed well and appropriate.
Yep.
Not because you want to send a message.
Is there a good Wednesday brunch in Winnipeg?
Oh yes, there is.
I'm sure there is. Pekka Rene, to beat Pekka Rene, I've always felt, his strength and weakness at the same time is his aggressiveness in goal. And you can see it at times where, he kind of has he's Marc-Andre Fleury has the same thing going on to a degree, but not to the point of Pekka, who comes way out all the time. And where the Jets have scored some goals is by, taking a shot towards the goal and basically, taking that shot and deflecting it as a pass to somebody else, because Rene's so far out of the net that's where you can beat him. I mean, if you manage that way, you can pull it off.
Or shooting wide on purpose, getting it off the boards and coming out the other end.
Things like that.
I noticed that he's done on a good side is, especially these playoffs, is Rene is gloving stuff a lot more and not pushing out the rebounds or anything, not taking any chances, and that's actually helped that team a lot.
That's a good insight, because it's rare for him. He tends to keep the puck moving all the time, and I think that he's learning not to. The problem is Rene. Like with the one goalie thing that Rene and Fleury have in common, and this is the frustrating thing as goalies, is that when you're behind as a goalie, like if your team's down 1-0 or 2-1 or 2-0, as a goalie, it's a very frustrating thing because you can't get your team back in it. You can only keep your team from falling further, right? So you can't. And what Rene and Fleury try to do sometimes is too much and try to get their team back in it by making like some kind of really aggressive play, or trying to play it too often, or trying to keep the puck in play, like you're saying, or something like that, where they completely feel like they have to do something offensively from their position. Right. And that's just not, and that just kills them, and they tend to spiral. So if you get Rene out off his game, that's what happened in game one. That he's like, the further behind you fall, the more Rene tries to do, the worse he becomes.
Yeah, last game, he loved me more, and he was doing it with defiance. Like, hey, you can't beat me on the glove side, and now I'm not even giving you a rebound opportunity.
Right. Fleury doesn't do it nearly as he used to in Pittsburgh, but he's definitely, and I think part of that is because the defense he's got in front of him now, he's he realizes he's got to hold on to the puck a little bit more. But yeah, so that I think it's going to be tonight. Game threes we talk about often, big games.
Nashville set for a reason. I knew Winnipeg could grind it out, but I still think they're learning, and they won't be able to grind it out for the entire series like Nashville. Now, will that take something out of Nashville going forward? Probably will. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that they got so many shots against the Predators, especially in game one, is really impressive.
I'll tell you something right now, Russ. This series against Winnipeg, if Nashville does get through, is going to be much tougher than the one they face in the conference final against either Vegas or San Jose. I think
they could be totally beat up, though. That's the
right.
thing.
That's true.
Yeah, so far the Vegas San Jose series is.
Remember, Ryan Ellis already has the zipper on the face. Like, there's a lot of stuff they're going to walk away from this series with.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone wants to play Vegas. If Vegas gets to the conference finals, it's just friggin'. I mean, at that point, you're like,
if they get to the conference finals, it's true. Nobody is going to want to play.
You're an Angels in the outfield.
No
time, you're like, what the hell?
You know what? Yeah, and I mean, if Vegas gets to a conference, I mean, I every time Vegas finishes a game, I think they should all have to do a P test, because I don't know what they're running on.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
It's insane.
Right.
It's absolutely insane.
And the one game they lost, right? They lost in overtime, right, in the playoffs. So
and they should have won, because that goal was.
Yes, I mean, they haven't even been beaten solidly in the playoffs. Like they lost one game to San Jose.
Wins or losses and losses. I'm not looking into anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Last night, took a absolute perfect shot from Carlson. That shot, there's literally this much net cross ice to shoot for. He got it. He missed it, and they could have lost the game on that miss.
Which was the same thing as Kane's goal, because Kane's goal on Fleury was like, here's the post, here's the crossbar, and it went right there. It was like there was no room.
Oh yeah, I mean, I found my article the other day, which is really interesting, and it kind of goes back to San Jose and Vegas. But I was looking for it because I did this research years ago, because I've always felt like when a team blew out another team in the playoffs, that team would lose their next game in the playoffs. And we've seen it this year in Pittsburgh, Philly. We saw it with Vegas, San Jose. When a team wins by more than 5 goals, actually, according to my stats, and this was like 2 years ago, a team that wins by more than 5 goals in a playoff game loses the next game 68% of the time. Which is
your source? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just went and did.
I said your source, yeah. So you're your source.
But I think that shows the way playoffs work, right? Where you have to be mentally be on the edge. And when you beat a team, you kill a team, it's so hard to get up for the next game in the same way. And that's what you see. So that's what we're seeing. And I think that, that it also shows, I think we've seen it all over the place. So, I think tonight, if Washington wins tonight, what are we thinking?
I don't think they're going to win tonight. I think with Malkin, if Malkin plays, they won't win.
If Washington wins
two of 3 at home against the Flyers.
Yeah, whatever.
If Washington wins tonight, that means the series is going 7 and Pittsburgh's winning in 7.
Yeah.
All right. I think so. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun night.
He hasn't locked things down since the loss. Like, even last game, he didn't completely lock things down.
Yeah. My rumor blog today, I just briefly, we won't talk about it too much, but we'll get into the rumors more next week for sure. But John Carlson is still, obviously not signed or extended. And there's some teams now that I'm starting to hear they're going to back the truck up. It literally is what I heard somebody say.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
So and those, the 5 I found so far: Toronto, Montreal, Buffalo, LA, and Detroit are 5 teams.
There are people that still feel there's a decent chance that he stays, even though they haven't negotiated.
Yeah. Well, McClellan's officially unofficial line within the organization is like, we're going to just deal with it in the summer.
Right.
But whatever that means, I don't really.
Well, they're not going to say anything right now because they're in the middle of a playoff run.
No, yeah, and but it's definitely.
But I was even hearing that at the Winter Classic, Mike, because I asked specifically a bunch of reporters about that, and even at the Winter Classic, they still had that same tact. They were waiting until the end of the season, no matter what.
But when the team says that, usually it means the player doesn't want to talk about it at all.
Right.
Because they want to get, so that means that Carlson knows the amount of money he can get, and maybe has someplace in his head he really wants to go. Now Carlson is from Massachusetts, so people would think Boston. He's from Natick, so
they don't have the cap space.
They don't really have the space to do it. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. We're ending. We need to end. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the game.